Xin chào Paulo. Can you turn on your microphone?
Yes, it's turned on. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you. Okay. Bây giờ đã là 8 giờ. Let me share with you. Xin chào các bạn. Các bạn có nhìn thấy rõ màn hình không ạ? Rồi, các bạn hãy thả tim là thấy rõ nhé. Thả tim, thả like cũng được. Rồi, chúng ta đã thấy các trái tim được thả. Rồi, một vài phút ngay sau đây chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau trò chuyện với Paulo Andrez, một chuyên gia về kinh doanh, tài chính đến từ châu Âu. Và ở đây thì có rất nhiều bạn đã tham dự cái buổi ra mắt sách của Paulo Andrez vào năm ngoái trong chuỗi chương trình Tech Fest. Thì hôm nay sẽ là một cơ hội khác để chúng ta có thể trao đổi và trò chuyện một cách sâu hơn về những cái câu hỏi mà chúng ta có thể quan tâm. Và đặc biệt là có một số bạn đã đọc xong toàn bộ cuốn sách của Paulo. Hôm nay thì ông đã cảm thấy thế nào ạ, Paulo?
I feel good. It's great to be here with you again. Is Kimi also attending the here? Is she participating?
Not today.
Okay, not today. Okay.
So today it's just you and
okay.
Nobody to back you up, huh?
No. Just because I saw that there was a similar name of a participant, so I didn't know if she was here or not. Just to say hello.
No problem. Okay.
I see that you have
yes,
Zero Risk Startup book, but you need to put the Vietnamese version of the book. It's
this
that
is
one, okay? Right. Yeah.
Yes, this is a book. Đây là cuốn sách mà tôi đang cầm trong tay, chính là cuốn Zero Risk Startup, cuốn sách mà Paulo Andrez đã viết vào năm 2024, xuất bản 2024 và 2025 thì đã có bản tiếng Việt. Và rất cảm ơn Paulo đã dành thời gian. Chúng ta có 60 phút cùng trao đổi với Paulo trong ngày hôm nay. Thì ở đây có cái sự trợ giúp của AI, thì các bạn có thể, những bạn mà chưa giỏi làm tiếng Anh thì có thể đọc cái phần phụ đề. Thì tôi xin được phép được bắt đầu vào cái buổi trò chuyện ngày hôm nay. Paulo, tôi xin được hỏi câu số 1. Nhiều sinh viên có ý tưởng kinh doanh nhưng mà chưa có vốn và kinh nghiệm. Thì theo ông, đâu là cách tốt nhất để kiểm chứng một ý tưởng trước khi bỏ tiền vào và thời gian vào cho nó?
I think the lack of money and even the lack of experience are not excuses not to start a business. And I covered that in the book very clearly. So many businesses don't need money to start. And even if you need some money to start, many people and their families, they have the money, but they are afraid that the business will not succeed. So even on those cases, if the entrepreneur reduces the risk of the business, then even in that case, the families can put money. The most important thing is to try to identify a market need where people or businesses can buy your product or service. This is the most important thing. It's not about the money. Many many entrepreneurs, they identify a product or service that is needed in the market, and then they contact potential clients. They get orders from those potential clients, and in many cases, they are able even to get money in advance from those clients. Let me give you an idea. For instance, one of the companies that I have invested, they had a device for pets. So it's a small necklace that to put in a dog or in a cat, and on a radius of 1 kilometer, they can identify where is the cat or where is the dog. So they had this idea, but they didn't have the money. And I suggested them to try to find potential clients. And they went, and I suggested Kickstarter in the US or Indiegogo in the US, which are platforms where entrepreneurs with products or services that they want to have customers, they present the product, and they received orders from clients about $300,000. So they didn't have the product, but they received orders, pre-orders from the clients, and the clients paid those $300,000. So based with that money, they created a product, and then they delivered the product to clients. So it's always possible, in case there is a market need, and the problem and the product or service is going to solve that market need, to find solutions where it's not requested a lot of money. However, when we say it's not requested a lot of money, some entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs, they want to be €0 or $0 of spending. For instance, I help a lot of entrepreneurs that want to develop a project, but I get a little bit upset with entrepreneurs that are asking me $30,000 to build a prototype of a product. And I get upset because I think there are other ways for the entrepreneurs to develop. And I asked entrepreneurs, okay, why do you need $30,000 to make this prototype? And they say, oh, we need $7,500 for a battery. And I said, okay, who produces the batteries? And they give me the contacts of the producers. And I call them and say, look, we have here an entrepreneur willing to select the future suppliers of batteries in order, and they need to test. Do you have any battery that can be used for tests for 1 month, 2 months? And the company says, yes, we have here a battery, just come and pick, and then once you are done with the test, just return it. So I tell the entrepreneur, look, $7,500, you don't need to fundraise from investors. And then the entrepreneur says, oh, but we need a machine to cut the product and to do the cutting. And I said, who are the industries that have those machines? Why do you need to buy a machine? And they say, which industry? So I call them and say, hey, I know that you have this kind of machine. We are supporting here the entrepreneur to build a prototype. Is there any chance by Sunday or Saturday after hours, you could help the entrepreneur to cut? He will post on social media a thank you note for you and for your company. And then the guy says, okay, come Saturday at 3 p.m. And I tell the entrepreneur, look, go there at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and they will do it for free. Ah, that's great. So, but the entrepreneur says, no, but I need raw material as well. To buy raw material. I say, who has this raw material? And then they give me the contact. And I call the raw material companies and say, look, I have here an entrepreneur that is selecting the future suppliers of raw material. Do you have any samples of your raw material that he can test the quality, blah, blah, blah. And they say, yes, we have, not in a packaging, so it's really raw, but you can test. So I tell the entrepreneur, go there. And then the entrepreneur says, no, but we still need $1,000 for marketing. And I said, look, for $1,000, you go to work in a restaurant or McDonald's for 2 months or 3 months, and you get the money. Of course, you can also try to get an exchange of services with a marketing company. But entrepreneurs sometimes put in that position that they want to go, they don't want to even spend $1 in their business. They want someone else to spend all the money and all the risk. And then this is a problem, because they try to transfer the risk to investors. And when it's very early stage, so when the business is starting and entrepreneurs are looking for investors, the problem is that the business has a lot of risk, and investors will ask a lot of equity, a lot of shares in the company, which means that the entrepreneur is giving away a big portion of their business for a very little price, and that's not good. So I think the most important thing that the entrepreneurs should think is, what is the best money for them to start a business? It's not their own money, it's not grants from the government, it's not investors' money, it's clients' money. Clients' money and clients are the most important thing. So if you have clients, everything, or potential clients, everything else can be achieved, and you don't need to think about money for a lot of things. If you have clients, everything can be solved.
Cảm ơn câu trả lời của Paulo. Tôi có thể tóm tắt một chút ngắn gọn cái ý mà Paulo vừa mới trả lời. Một cái điều rất quan trọng đó là khi chúng ta muốn kinh doanh một mặt hàng đấy thì chính là cái bài toán tìm kiếm khách hàng, tức là cái công việc về gọi là nghiên cứu về marketing, tìm hiểu về thị trường, xem cái nhu cầu thực sự nó ở đâu, và khi mà chúng ta nhìn thấy được cái nhu cầu đó thì chúng ta có thể giải quyết tiếp cái bài toán tiếp theo là cái đầu vào của chúng ta, từ nguyên liệu đến công cụ để sản xuất, thì hoàn toàn có thể tìm kiếm những cái đầu mối mà chính là những cái đối tác trong tương lai của chúng ta. Thì lúc đó khi mà để thử nghiệm thì chúng ta hoàn toàn có thể nhờ được sự trợ giúp của họ. Thì đây là những cái gợi ý rất là thiết thực và hữu ích cho những ai mà đang có những ý tưởng và thực sự muốn hành động, muốn thử nghiệm với những ý tưởng kinh doanh của mình.
One thing just to clarify, Nam, a lot of people say, oh, we need a marketing plan. So they hire very expensive consultants to produce some studies in a paper. For me, an entrepreneur that comes with a marketing study about the product, but didn't contact any potential clients about the product, for me, the solution of that business plan or marketing plan is called trash. You just take it and you put in trash. Because entrepreneurs sometimes say, oh, we want to achieve 5% of a specific market segment. But 5%, what does it mean, 5%? How many clients did you contact? For me, it's much better someone says, look, I contacted 20 potential clients. From those 20 potential clients, 10 said that they could be potentially interested. I arranged a second meeting. From those 10, 6 said that they are interested in buying, and 5 made offer in terms of to buy the product. So I have here 5 letters of interest from those customers willing to buy my product. And that is more important than someone says that they want 5% of the market or 10% of the market share in a specific segment. So don't spend money with consultants, basically.
Đấy là một lời khuyên rất là hợp lý và hữu ích. Tức là chúng ta không nên có những cái thông tin một cách chung chung, một cách chưa rõ ràng, mà điều quan trọng chính là tìm được những cái khách hàng thực sự, những cái khách hàng có thể là 4-5 người hoặc là 10 người, nhưng mà họ là những người khách hàng thực sự và sẵn sàng hứng thú, sẵn sàng chi trả cho sản phẩm mà chúng ta đang dự định đưa vào thị trường. Thì đấy chính là cái công việc mà gọi là marketing thực sự, chính là tìm kiếm những khách hàng thực sự sẵn sàng trả tiền cho cái sản phẩm mà chúng ta đang muốn thực hiện. Tôi xin phép sang câu hỏi thứ hai dành cho Paulo. Ông thường nói về giảm thiểu rủi ro thay vì chấp nhận rủi ro. Với một người trẻ mới bắt đầu thì đâu là những rủi ro lớn nhất mà họ thường không nhận ra?
Look, I talk about minimizing risk because that is the critical point to start a business. There are several studies around the world about this issue of risk, but the most important one I could say is the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which is they analyze per country the reasons why people that want to start a business don't start a business. They identify that 55% of the adults that want to start a business, 55%, they don't do anything in the next 3 years just because of fear of failure. So 55%. So now if you add those people that want to start a business, but they don't have money, they don't have time, family doesn't allow, etc., then this is huge. In US, in United States, just to give you some idea, 60% of the people that work for someone else would like to quit and start their own business. 60%, so the majority. But 92% of those 60% don't do anything to start a business, and because they feel that there is a lot of risk. So the most important thing for an entrepreneur is to mitigate risk. And in any business, there are basically 5 risks. Is the market risk? Is there a market for the product? How is the competition going to react? Then we have the entrepreneur team risk. Does the entrepreneur know how to operate the business? Is the entrepreneur ready to execute the project, or the team is ready to execute the project, or it's just some team of IT engineers? I'm an IT engineer, my background, so I know what I'm talking about, and they don't have any idea of marketing, sales, etc. So the team is good in technical part, but they don't know how to sell, so they need to bring someone to sell. So the entrepreneur team is second risk. Then we have the financial risk. Does the company depend on payment of clients? So if the clients don't pay, this can create a problem. Does the company need a lot of money to buy equipment, etc., or they can rent it? So it's a low investment volume. Then we go to the legal risk. Is this legal? Does the company need a license to operate? What is the likelihood of that license to be granted to the entrepreneurs? And finally, we have the operational risk. Do the entrepreneurs know how to operate a business? Is it something completely innovative that they have never tried before, and it's the first time they are operating? Or do they have previous experience in the business and they already know how to operate the business, so there is not so much risk about operating the business? So this is the MFlow, which is part of the book as well, which is the 5 risks on any business. So this is the risk of the business itself. On top of this, we need to identify the risks at a personal level from the entrepreneur side. And at the personal level, there are basically 2 types of risks. One is, of course, tangible risk, is money that entrepreneurs need to put. If they need to quit the job, they lose that revenue from that job. And then there is the non-tangible risk, which is reputation. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they have the money, they don't even need the money, but they are afraid that if they fail, their reputation will be challenged. And in many countries, families don't want people to be entrepreneurs because they understand that what is good for the kids is to work for someone else, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to work for someone else, and not to take a high risk venture that can ruin the reputation of all the family. So a lot of cultures, the parents think, we have invested so much money on you, so to go to the school, to go to the university, pay books, etc. And in the end of all of this, you are going to put in risk the reputation of the family. So this is the non-tangible risk. What entrepreneurs need to do, and very, very few do it around the world, in US, in Europe, in Asia, is to calculate what is the maximum acceptable level of risk. So instead of thinking, oh, I will not take any risk, so I will put all the risk into investors or ask money from the government, entrepreneurs need to calculate what should be the amount that they can take as a risk. Imagine is $2,000. Let's assume that is $2,000. So entrepreneur needs to work in the project that the maximum risk is $2,000. Imagine that there is a need to invest $10,000 in equipment, to buy equipment. So for bringing those $10,000 to $2,000, entrepreneur needs to do a lot of things. And I explain this in the book. In the book, I have more than 100 tips on how to reduce and mitigate the risk. For instance, instead of buying equipment, maybe they can rent equipment for 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months in order to try the market, to see if there is a market demand. So instead of doing a huge investment acquiring equipment, then they can just try to do it small. Instead of building a factory for something, initially they can try to subcontract to an existing factory the production of that product, and then they sell in the market. So, and they focus on marketing and sales. So they don't need to do all the investment. And if there is market demand for their product or their service, then there is no risk for them, and then they can do all the investment. The same thing in banks. Banks do not like to lend money to entrepreneurs because they see a lot of risk. But if the entrepreneur brings clients, signed clients, entrepreneur has experience in doing the product or service, and he has the orders, the bank will see much less risk and will be willing to provide a loan.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Đúng là ngân hàng rất là ngại cho entrepreneur vay, những cái người khởi đầu, mới lần đầu khởi đầu. Như tôi kinh doanh được 4 năm thì 4 năm trước là như không có ngân hàng nào liên hệ. Nhưng mà sau 4 năm thì rất nhiều ngân hàng muốn ngỏ lời cho vay. Thế nhưng mà tôi luôn phải cân nhắc về cái lãi suất. Cái lãi suất nếu như mà nó vẫn cao thì tôi sẽ không chấp nhận. Và cái vừa rồi thì Paulo vừa mới nhắc đến một cái những cái khái niệm quan trọng nhất trong cuốn sách, chính là cái bộ từ khóa Maslow. Tôi xin được nhắc lại, nó chính là 5 cái loại rủi ro rất quan trọng mà bất cứ một entrepreneur, tức là một người kinh doanh nào cũng cần phải nhận diện. Đấy là M chính đại diện cho thị trường, market, tức là thị trường đấy có đủ lớn cho chúng ta, cho cái sản phẩm của ta hay không. Rồi thì chữ E, M đến chữ E chính là đội ngũ, entrepreneur chính là đội ngũ chúng ta có sẵn sàng thực hiện những cái công việc, những cái nhiệm vụ để giúp cho doanh nghiệp của chúng ta vượt qua các khó khăn hay không. Và F chính là finance, tài chính. liệu chúng ta có đủ nguồn vốn để duy trì hoạt động hay không. Chữ L chính là legal, là pháp lý. Thì cái doanh nghiệp của chúng ta, cái lĩnh vực của chúng ta kinh doanh có nhiều đòi hỏi rào cản pháp lý hay không. Ví dụ như xuất bản sách thì rất là nhiều rào cản pháp lý. Và cuối cùng là chữ O là vận hành, tức là cái quá trình vận hành thì nó sẽ có những cái rủi ro gì. Và khi mà Paulo liệt kê cái mô hình Maslow vừa rồi ấy, thì tôi xin được hỏi Paulo là cái yếu tố nào thường là nguyên nhân khiến các startup thất bại sớm nhất, và người mới khởi nghiệp nên ưu tiên giải quyết yếu tố nào trong 5 yếu tố vừa rồi?
There is a study that I encourage you to look in the internet, which is called, there are two studies. One is in Europe, is done by EBAN, European Business Angel Network, and it says why investors do not invest in startups. It was asked those investors why they refuse to invest in the startups that they refuse to invest. And the main risk is market demand was not proven. So it's entrepreneurs, it's 86% of the cases. So entrepreneurs go to pitch to investors and say, oh, there is a real need in the market of this product or service because there is nothing like this. And but they could not make evidence that there is a market need of that product or service. So they didn't bring potential clients willing to buy the product or mentioning that there is a real need. There is another study from CB Insights from US, where they identified the top 20 reasons why startups fail. So, and the reasons why startups fail, once more, is there is no market demand for the product. The second reason is about the execution of the project, because the team was not experienced enough to launch the business. But if you think about the market, entrepreneur, the financial, legal, and operational risk, you can identify what are the main risks. So when you pitch to someone, you need to try to think about those 5 risks and to say how you mitigated those risks.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Tôi xin phép được gửi đến câu hỏi tiếp theo. Đấy là nếu chỉ có 6 tháng để thử sức với một dự án khởi nghiệp bên cạnh việc học hoặc là bên cạnh công việc chính, thì ông sẽ khuyên một người trẻ nên làm gì để học được nhiều nhất mà vẫn hạn chế tổn thất?
Look, I think when people are in universities, studying in universities, this is the best time to start a business, because if entrepreneur, let's say, fails, or the business fails, it's not a problem because the entrepreneur is still studying, so it's not a real problem. And while in universities, you can find out other potential partners, also other potential founders for your startup. And also, a lot of universities, they have labs where you can test the product. And the universities also have, many of the universities have this alumni network. So it's former students that were studying in the university. And usually these networks are very useful for the students that want to launch a business. For instance, imagine that you want to contact the biggest Vietnamese company, and you go to the alumni network and you identify that there are 2 people that work in that company. So you ask for a connection. So you go and talk with those people and say, look, I have this business idea. Can you help me? How should I approach it, etc.? And they say, look, I think for you to have this product, you need to have these requirements, you need to have these safety procedures. And once you have that, I can introduce you to the buying department. And so then they introduce you to the buying department, and maybe they can buy from you. So you should use the resources while you are in the university that helps to mitigate the risk. And even if it fails, what do you lose? Nothing. I mean, if you don't spend a lot of money. Failing is not a problem, okay? To fail is not a problem. What is a problem is if you fail fast and cheap is not a problem. If you take a lot of time to fail, so instead of failing in 3 months or 6 months, as the example, you need to take 6 years or 3 years to fail, that is a problem because you invested a lot. Or if you invest a lot of money. So if you do not invest a lot of money until you know if you are going to fail or not, then it's not a problem. Many people say, okay, but I need to create a product, and to produce the product I need a factory, and for the factory I need investment, and I need, as I don't have money, I need grants or I need investment from investors. So that is not true. So if you want, you can talk with potential buyers of your product or your service and say, okay, look, if I produce a product that has these features, would you be interested in buying the product or not? And many of these companies will say, okay, if you have this product, then we are interested. But first we need to verify that the product has those features. So you don't need to have the physical product for them to make a decision. Of course, they probably will not send you money if you don't have anything to show, but they can tell you if they are interested or not in terms of the product, if you mention the features of the product. A lot of businesses, you can develop a product specifically to that company. For instance, software. This is very, very typical. Someone wants to develop a software for a specific niche, comes to a company and says, okay, look, I'm going to develop I can develop the software specifically for your needs because you have these pains, as you confirmed. I will develop these in 6 models, and every time I develop one model and I deliver to you, you pay me 1/6 of the total project. So, and the client may accept, and you can say, okay, I will do a discount of 80% of the normal cost because you are my first client. And many companies don't take any risk because you deliver the product and then they pay.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Tôi được biết rằng ông đã kinh doanh thành công từ rất sớm, từ năm 18 tuổi. Ông có thể kể về cái thương vụ đầu tiên của ông được không ạ?
Look, I was entering to the university. I was 18 years old, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just thought that Portuguese products could be interesting for UK. I didn't do much research at that time. There was not internet. So what I did is I contacted a lot of suppliers from Portugal. I asked the catalogs, price lists, and what would be my margin, etc. And then I just took the plane and spent 1 month on holidays in July, where there are no school. The university only starts in September. And I went in July and visited 100 clients in UK, potential clients in UK. And from those 100 clients, I had around 8 clients interested in the product. And then I got 5 that we really made business with. So what was my cost? It was a trip to UK. Even if I would not have sold anything, I would consider just tourism. So I would have invested in tourism as students do trips before they go to the university. And it was very successful. And from that moment, I started exporting a lot of things while I was in university. So basically, I had a business where they sent me orders. Some of you knew the fax systems. There was not, the internet at that time was not very well developed, but there were fax systems. So I received orders from fax. I placed the orders to factories. Then I collect the transport to the UK and I pay the factory. And of course, I receive the money from the clients. On those circumstances, I was always asking for a letter of credit from the customers. So the customers issue a letter of credit to the bank. And so I know once I put the goods in the port to be exported, then I can go to the bank with the papers and the bank pays me the money. So I have zero risk in terms of payment from the client. So I started the business basically with less than $1,000 of a trip and hotels, etc. at that time. But it's possible to start a business without having a lot of investment.
Cảm ơn Paulo, thật sự là một kinh nghiệm rất là thú vị. Tức là thay vì đi du lịch như các bạn bè thì ông dành 1.000 đô đi du lịch sang để gặp các khách hàng tiềm năng và từ đó đã dẫn đến một cái kinh doanh rất là hiệu quả. Và tôi xin hỏi ông thêm một câu là sự khác biệt trong tư duy của một người kinh doanh và một nhà đầu tư là gì? Ông có thể chia sẻ về vấn đề này không ạ?
In terms of, it depends on a business person and depends on the investor. You cannot say that there is a mindset that it's the same for everyone. But basically, an investor, a business angel, or a venture capitalist. So business angel is those people, individuals that they make decisions to invest their own money and to do the investment, while venture capitalists are those entities that collect money from private investors, and then they make decisions on behalf of these private investors to invest in startups or even a bit later stage companies. What investors want is to have return from their investment. So they don't want to lose money from the investment. And that is the main mindset. And the decisions of the investors are made by their perception, not by their by the reality. So if they perceive that a business is very risky, even if it is not, their decision will be that they will not invest in that business. So if you are an entrepreneur, you need to think that the decision of the investors will be made by their perception. And so you need to mitigate a lot of perception that exists, even if there is no risk. For instance, if you are in a market that is going to grow, let's say 10% per year, one thing is you tell the investor, oh, we are in this segment of the market that is going to grow 10% per year, but the investor doesn't know if it is true or not. But if you say, look, according to the last report of PricewaterhouseCoopers, that was published 2 months ago, they estimate that in the next 5 years, this market segment will grow 10% per year. So you mitigate the perceived risk from the investor to the real risk, because this is something that is backed by evidence. In terms of the mindset of business person or entrepreneurs, and also there are many business persons, but they are not entrepreneurs. But let's go by entrepreneurs. The most of the entrepreneurs, they just think about themselves. they don't think about what is the benefit for the investor. So they start pitching to the investor saying, I need this money, I need this to build this. But they don't tell the investor what is the benefit of the investor if the investor invests in their company. So they should say, hey, if you invest in our company and if we manage to do what we estimate to do, then you can earn 10 times of your money. You can have an exit with 10 times of the money that you have invested. So think about what are the needs of the investor and not about your own needs, because the investor doesn't care about your needs. The investor wants to know if he's going to receive the money back and if he's going to have a profit. And that is a very important distinction when you talk to investors.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Chúng ta còn khoảng 15 phút thì những bạn tham gia hôm nay có thể đặt câu hỏi. Các bạn có thể nhắn tin vào phần chat các câu hỏi mà các bạn muốn gửi đến Paulo. Trong lúc chờ tôi xin phép được đọc một câu hỏi của một bạn. Đấy là từ kinh nghiệm của ông thì kinh doanh ở những thành phố lớn sẽ hiệu quả hơn hay ở tỉnh lẻ đang trong đà phát triển sẽ tốt hơn? Nên dựa trên yếu tố gì đánh giá độ hiệu quả khi chọn địa phương để đặt cơ sở kinh doanh của mình?
I think the place that you should choose to start your business basically is two reasons. One is, where are the clients? So if your clients are in the big cities, you should start the business in big cities. If they are in rural areas, you should start the business in rural areas. The second thing that the business you can decide is about where is the raw material. For instance, if you are having industry based on some plants and the plants are in a specific region of Vietnam, then probably you should start a business where are those raw materials. Otherwise, you need to transport them, and the cost of transport is going to increase the cost of your product. So, and ideally, you should have, let's say, production where are the raw materials or where is the talent to produce the product or the service. And you should have a delegation or office in a big city where are the clients, if the clients are in a specific way. If the clients are worldwide, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are, because they will not visit you, and they will just buy the product or service online or through contacting you directly. So they don't care much where you are.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Tôi mới nhận được thêm một câu hỏi từ một độc giả. Đấy là why AI clearly help reduce operational risk and improve efficiency. I wonder whether startups may also become too dependent on AI tool, external model, or automation system over time. In your opinion, how can founders leverage AI to minimize risk across the Mapflow framework without unintentionally creating new strategic or dependency risk in the long term?
Look, I think AI is helping a lot entrepreneurs to reduce risk, because they can ask AI, okay, tell me the needs of these clients, or I have this business idea. Can you tell me if this business idea can have success in the market? What are the main pain points that the clients have concerning this sector, for instance? Can you identify competition? Can you identify what the reviews of the users online say about the competition? Can you identify claims or court cases with a competition, for instance. Can you identify 20 most potential clients for this specific product in a specific region? Can you give me the emails or contacts of these people? And can you draft some letters to these people, identifying their problems and so AI can help tremendously. And what AI is doing is AI is democratizing the startup world, because before AI, companies from London, where I'm based, or from New York, or from Silicon Valley in US, or Paris, or Berlin, or Singapore, everyone would say, oh, this can be successful. But nowadays, the most remote place in Vietnam can build a successful company as a London-based company can have, with advantage from Vietnam that you have much lower labor costs and you have a huge talent pool. One thing that when I was there in Vietnam, I identified is you should use more your diaspora, so people from Vietnam that live abroad, because those they speak your language, they know your culture, and they can help you to buy your products or to find customers. So basically, AI is a must. You need to use AI. If your product or service will rely tremendously in terms of AI, so you cannot operate without AI, this can pose a risk that another business can come and take over your business. So I think AI is a must. You should use, and it helps also to talk with the parents and the family to explain why it's not so risky for you to start a business. So you can ask AI, please help me. How should I talk with my parents for them to support my business so that they do not block, or my partner, my wife, my husband, so not to block? And the AI can give you some ways to mitigate that risk.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Một câu hỏi khác, đấy là từ góc nhìn của một nhà đầu tư thiên thần đã làm việc với hàng trăm startup khác nhau, thì điều gì khiến ông quyết định tin tưởng một entrepreneur trẻ dù họ chưa có thành tích gì nổi bật?
What made him? So you are asking a specific case, or in general, why people can trust a young entrepreneur? Is that the question?
Mm-hmm. And okay. In general, from your opinion, from your experience.
Look, the best thing is if you are doing a service, okay, and the company buying your service, for instance, they don't know you, imagine, and they don't know if you are going to do the service or not. So the best thing is to do the following. Look, I'm happy to deliver the service to you, and then you evaluate if you are happy or not. If you are happy, you pay. If you are not happy, you do not pay. And so you remove the risk from the company paying you, because in the beginning, what you need is you need to have clients so that you can tell others, look, I'm working with this client, I have this client, so I have a lot of clients, so that the perception of risk towards potential new clients is reduced. So the most important thing is how you can reduce the risk to your potential clients. So if you say that they only pay you after they receive the product, or you deliver the service, then it's great. Let me give you an example, because I've helped a lot of entrepreneurs in retail. A lot of entrepreneurs try to sell products to supermarkets chains, so these big companies, and they are afraid to buy your product because maybe nobody wants to buy the product, so they need to stock and etc. So one way to do is to say, okay, look, I'm me as an entrepreneur, I'm going to provide you 20 products or 30 products, 100, whatever, and you put in your shelves. After 3 months, the product that you have not sold, you give me back, and you don't need to pay. Every week or every month, you tell me what you sold, and you pay me every month what you have sold. So what is the risk for the retailer is zero, because even if they don't sell anything, they return. The same thing, some retailers say, okay, but we have shelf exposure, and this is limited in our shops. So if we are going to put your product that we don't know if it's going to sell, then this poses a problem for other products that could make a margin. So one way for you to say is, okay, no problem, put my product in your website. Every time there is a client buying the product, you take the money, you send your courier to pick the product from my warehouse, and you send directly to your customer. And when your customer receives the product, then you pay us. So what is the risk of the retailer? Zero, because they don't even need to put it in to buy it or to store, because they will send directly from the manufacturer to the client. And this is called drop shipping. This is huge business, and for instance, platforms like Amazon allow this as well on a business to consumer. So you can put a product in Amazon or in other platforms, Alibaba, whatever, and then they sell your product.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Có lẽ là một câu hỏi cuối mà tôi muốn dành cho Paulo. Câu này tôi cũng thắc mắc rất nhiều lần. Đấy là một doanh nghiệp có thể là rất lớn, hàng nghìn doanh nhân và doanh thu rất là lớn như Microsoft hay Apple, hoặc là bây giờ có một doanh nghiệp chỉ có một người. Tức là có rất nhiều loại hình doanh nghiệp. Thế nhưng mà tôi muốn hỏi là theo quan điểm của ông thì bản chất của làm kinh doanh hay làm doanh nghiệp đấy là gì? Bản chất của nó từ cái kinh nghiệm của ông.
Look, many business that require hundreds or thousands of workers, now with AI and automation, they may require less people. For instance, in programming, before you would need maybe 200 programmers, and now because of AI, 90% of the programming is done by AI, so maybe you need 10 people. So you become more efficient in terms of the business. But AI cannot replace everything. You cannot have AI to serve you a coffee in a shop or in a esplanade. Maybe in the future, with robots, you can order. The robot makes the coffee and brings to you, but we are not there yet in terms of the mainstream. But there are a lot of services that cannot be done by robots or cannot be done by AI. So you need to think about your client, your what is your client needs and how can you serve them, and use the tools that are available to become lean from the beginning. A lot of established companies, big companies, they have a lot of processes, and bringing AI is not very helpful because they are not changing dramatically the way they work. They are just improving the speed of the process internally. So the new companies need to think about the business in a different mindset, in a different way, and they can build the infrastructure much cheaper. Just see that DeepSeek in China, they spent less than 10% of what OpenAI spent to develop their system. So this is a reality, and entrepreneurs need to be aware of this.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Vâng, cảm ơn ông đã dành thời gian chia sẻ cùng với cộng đồng Book Hunter. Hy vọng có thể được hẹn gặp lại ông trong thời gian sắp tới với một dự án khác và một tác phẩm khác.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and I hope that after this session, everyone understands that what they need to do is mitigate the risk, reduce the risk, and then start the business, and not start the business and then think about how to mitigate the risk. And the same thing when talking with clients, think about what are the risks the clients have buying from you, and then try to mitigate them. The same thing when you talk with banks or we talk with investors. Think about what they think about your business and how you can reduce their risk. Because if you reduce the risk for clients and for investors, you are reducing your own risk as well, and then you can build a much more healthy company.
Cảm ơn Paulo. Vâng, và cuốn sách Zero Risk Startup khởi nghiệp không rủi ro của Paulo hiện được bán rộng rãi trên toàn quốc, sách giấy, và đặc biệt thì sách điện tử, sách và có cả bản audio, thì các bạn có thể tìm mua ở trên bookhunterplus.vn. Và tới đây thì chương trình trao đổi cùng Paulo Andrez ngày hôm nay xin phép được tạm dừng tại đây. Xin cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã dành thời gian theo dõi và trao đổi cùng với Paulo. Tạm biệt các bạn và chúc các bạn một buổi tối vui vẻ.